Right, afternoon guys. Today we're going to go through how to add essay questions to our e-learning systems. In my previous video, we learned how to add resources such as textbooks. So after the learner has read the notes, now we need to assess them and find out if how well they understood the topic. So in this case, we're going to add some questions, a few questions together, so that you can get to understand how it is going, how it works out. Now, first thing first, you need to log into your e-learning system as an administrator or a teaching staff who has got the editing rights, right? And then when you log in, what you would like to do is to choose the course that you are actually going to be editing, and we are going to be choosing this course, right? So I'm going to open our course here. Now, and then likewise, you're going to turn on editing from here. You're going to turn on editing, so you'll be able to edit the course. All right. Having done that, then you go to the topic that you want to add the assessment on. For instance, I want to add it under this particular topic. So I'm going to say add an activity or a resource, right? And from there, I'll scroll down to quiz, right? So I'm going to choose quiz. I hope we can all see that. It's right here. Okay. So when you choose quiz, you're going to go to choose add. Now you need to name this particular assessment so that for identification purposes. So that's my identification, followed by a description. So I would say, please answer all questions, more like an instruction probably, on the spaces provided. Upload your answer sheet. Okay, so I'm actually saying to the learners they can actually answer on the system directly, or they can actually be able to upload a Word document or PDF document with their answers. Okay, that's the general. Then we go to timing, open quiz. I'm going to enable this. When do I want the learners to be able to start seeing this particular assessments or start taking the assessment? So let's say on the 8th of May, that's when I want them to be able to start on this assessment, 8:30. Okay. And then close quiz, it means the time that you are looking at, probably saying after this, would call it a due date, when you want them to have submitted or completed their quiz by. So you can put the date and time there. or you can actually put a limit to the time that they would spend on this assessment right here. So you can choose to say they can spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, or whichever way is suitable. So for this, I'm going to leave it out like that. Okay. The next thing is grade. Okay. You need to actually tell the system as to what grade do they need to have in order for them to pass. So out of 10, I would say 6 out of 10, it's a pass. Okay, I'll have unlimited attempts. Method of grading, it's the highest grade. Okay, go the layout. The layout, am I going to have every question on every page, or it's going to be every 3 questions on the page? So in this case, let me just choose 1 question per page so that it don't be clumsy, right? Okay, this can be like that, period. Right. Overall feedback. Now, overall feedback is to say when a person has passed, what percentage are we looking at? Let me just go down. Yeah, so here you can put probably to say passed, and then you'd put as right, and the mark that they need for them to pass, it's 60%, and then followed by failed, which means not yet competent. Okay, and if they get anything less than 40%. Okay, and then we also can look at the ID number, very important. Every course has to have an ID number. So this one, I'll give it an ID number, KES 0208 formative. Okay, that's my ID number for it. Can restrict access. Now, when you talk of restricting access, it means the learners will not be able to take this particular quiz, or should I say this assessment, unless these things have been met or restrictions have been met. So in this case, I'm going to say they have to complete a certain activity, which is reading the particular book, which is KS 02. I want to choose 02. I want them to read this book. So once this book has been ticked as to that they've read everything and understood, it will automatically mark that they've opened the notes and read the book, and then they'll be able to check this assessment. So I will choose that. So you can add as many restrictions as possible. It could be date, it could be the grade, it could be any set of grades that you are looking at that would restrict a particular learner to have access to this assessment. Okay. Now, activity completion. So when they complete, what is going to happen is completion tracking. We're saying, can students manually mark the activity as completed, or show activity as completed when conditions are met, or do not indicate activity complete? So let me just say you want it to be automatic. So I'll say show activity as completed when conditions are met. But what are the conditions that we're looking at? The condition number 1, students must view the activity to complete it. Yes. Student must receive a grade to complete this activity. If you want them to have that as a grade or whichever way, so that means once the facilitator has marked and they've given them a grade, then it will show that they have completed the activity. Okay, so I can just tick on it, and then it will require a passing grade, right, in order for them to for it to show on their system that they've completed that activity. Okay, tags, like in my previous module, we spoke about what tags they can be using to search. For instance, I can use this, right? Or probably I can take the code KS 0208. Okay, I can take also formative. Okay, I can take assessment. So whenever a learner uses any of these tags in their searching, that means this assessment will also come up, and then they can choose if that's what they want at the end of the day. Right, so competent is they can do nothing upon completion. Do they need to attach evidence? So they don't need to do anything on this particular module. And then I close, then I say save and return to course. Right, so I've created, just give me a second. The value you entered is, sorry, it just has to be 6 and 4. All right, let me save that. Okay, now after saving it, you find that it has come here, right? Cultural context and practices and how this impact on health, and restricted, not available unless this activity is marked complete. But now when I'm to open it, you find that there are no questions in it. So I need to start adding questions to it now. So I'm going to come here on the arrow here. I'm sure you've seen we have clicked. Just for those who cannot see, I'll click there, right? And then from there, I would also click on the question bank, which is here, right? Choose question bank. Okay. Then I go to create new questions. And see that right here at the bottom here, where it says create new questions, right? So I'll click on it. Right, what kind of questions that I'm looking at? I'm looking at essay questions, because I want them to be able to type onto the system, right? So which means I'll go to add. It's default for, so the category for these questions that I'm going to be creating are for what? So I'm basically creating for cultural context and practice and how it impact on health, right? So the default for that particular question, right? So the question name that I'm going to put, the first one I'll have to type in the first question here where it's written question name, describe what is meant by culture and cultural practices. Okay. Right. And repeat the same question here. Correct that. Okay, and how many marks that I'm looking for here? I'm looking for 10 marks. All right. And then I can give it an ID, probably KS02 08 1, for instance, just to have an ID for that question. And what am I expecting here? Format response, right? It can be an HTML editor, it's fine. And require text, so it requires the student to enter text, or text input is optional. So it requires the students to input actually onto the system. And then I'm anticipating that they might need to use about 15 lines or 20 lines for this particular, since it's 10 questions, I would probably say 20 lines. And then, okay, close that. Response template, I can maybe have information for the grader. Okay, so usually you can actually put here an answer for the questions that you're actually looking forward from this facilitator, so that whoever is grading can be able to pick it up. And then you say save changes. There we go. We've got our first question here, right? So let's just create a couple of questions. Maybe the second question again, it's going to be a short answer. Again, it's an essay again, right? Default for that, right? And in this case, I'm going to look at describe the following. And copy. Okay. All right. Okay. So what I'm actually looking at is they are going to describe these particular, these three elements. And as they are describing, I'm going to give them 15 marks, for instance. And yeah, I'll put a code KS02, probably 08, okay, question 2. Right, probably I'll put more lines for them, or maybe can give them 30 lines. Okay. And save changes. Now I've got 1, 2 questions. Let's add a few more again. Just a variety of questions. So we're going to have another essay. The next essay is basically about probably I'll say explain the roles of a traditional leader. Okay, explain the role of traditional leaders and healers in issues of health, for instance. And probably I'm going to give 10 marks for this one. Okay, and I'll also give the ID number for it, K0208, question 3. Okay, maybe my lines, I'll take them to 20 lines, not expecting any attachments. All right. And then I'll save changes. Okay. And then now I'll go to, let's put the last question. Okay, new question. We're looking at essays. Again, add. Okay, what is the question about? Probably I want the learners to explain the following. So in my question, I would say explain the following. And then I'll have what I need them to explain. Okay. All right, so I want them to explain the umbilical cord, circumcision, all right, I'll take this to the okay. So these are the two that I need them to explain for me from their own understanding. So I'll take it like that. So I'll probably give them 8 marks for those two when they manage. So it means 4 marks each. Let's give it an ID. KS0208, question 3. That's it. Are we there? Oh, question 4. All right. And then lines and everything else, we might leave it the same. Save changes. And I'll say, let's take a look at probably the last question. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's put the 5th question, for instance. And send. On this 5th question, I need them to give me examples of, copy, right. So what are the examples of? They're going to be looking at these 3 aspects, probably, which they're going to give me examples of. Right, just format it nicely. So there we go, and then you can put it into numbering 1, 2, 3. Right. Let's give also, so everything that you put on the system, it needs to have an ID number. Let's not forget that. That's my question 5 for that particular topic. and I'll go straight to save changes. Right. Now I've got my 5 questions, as you can see from here. These 5 questions. So I've got my 1, 2, 3. So that's my 1 here, my 2, my question 3, my question 4, my question 5. Having those questions at hand now, they are in your bank now. So what you need to do, the next step is to take them from the bank into the system that you are going to be linking them to. So I'll just come back to my, I hope you guys can see here. I'll come back here, I'll just click there, right? Hope you're following, right? Just to go back to my main module, right? So these questions are not linked as yet to the assessment that I want, because if I'm to go back here, question 2, and if I go to my quiz, if I'm to open it, it will show that there are no questions that have been added to this quiz yet. So the next thing that I need to do is to edit quiz, right? So I'll go to edit quiz, right? So if I go to edit quiz, I can see there are no questions, so I can say from the question bank, right? Default for, so you choose where these questions are located. So they are located right here. So I will select them, all right? The questions that I want. So I want these 5 questions. Then I can say add selected questions to the quiz, right? Boom, there we are. So the questions are under the quiz, as you can see here, and save, right? So as you can see here, it will automatically calculate for you the total marks, right? For the whole quiz, which is 44 marks, right? Which has been added throughout the questions that you have been putting up, right? Okay, and the next thing that we would like to do now is to just double check if our marks are correct. Yeah, explain the following: 10, 15, 10, 8, 1. Okay. And right, save. Now, having done that, now let's see how it looks for a normal student. Now, I'll go back to my dashboard. Okay. And from the dashboard here, I'm going to go into the course again, right? Health Promotion Officer. When I go into the course here, I'm going to scroll down to the assignment, right? Which is this one, and see. Now, it says, please answer all questions on the spaces provided or upload your answer sheet. This quiz will not be available until, remember, these are the settings that you have done. to say they will not be able to answer any questions until 8 May 2020 at 8:30. Method of grading is the highest grade. So this quiz is currently unavailable. But since you are an administrator, you are able to preview the questions to see how it looks. So this is how it's going to look when a student is taking the quiz. So it will have the first question here, explain the role of a traditional leaders in and healers in issues of health, right? So they'll be able to use the provided space to answer any questions that they might be provided, okay? And then the next thing, can go to the next page, question 2. They're able to do the same thing to explain this quiz. The quiz is not currently available, so existence of different cultures, impact culture, cultural practices on health, rights of communities to exercise their cultural preferences, explained as well. So it goes on to the next, and it shows on this side here. Let me just highlight for you. Okay, I'll highlight here. Here, it shows how many marks the question is actually going, how many marks are allocated to the question, right? Let's go and just check through. So be sure to check through all your questions. All right. Describe what is meant by cultural and cultural practices out of 10 marks. Okay. Go to the next question, page 5. Okay, circumcision and applicable hold. Okay. So this is out of 8 marks. Then let's see the next question. Now, on the next question, you're going to find that it is marked out of 1. I did that on purpose so that, let's say you find that there was an error. This question is not supposed to be out of 1, right? It's supposed to be out of, let's say, out of 12. So what you do, you need to go to edit question. Okay. So let's go to edit question. When you go to edit question, let's wait for it to load a little bit. And to take this down here. So it's to give examples of just correct that bit. Thank you. Now I can correct the default mark. The default mark here, we said we want it to be out of 12. So 4 marks for each, 4, 8, 12. So it's going to be 12 marks. And then you can save changes. Okay. Once that is done, just finish. Okay, now it's saying not yet answered because I was not answering, but for a learner, it will be showing that you've answered all these attempts, and they'll Then say submit all and finish. When they submit, then it will be submitted to the facilitator for manual grading. Okay, so that's about it, guys. I hope if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below, and then I can, if you need any clarity, please do comment, subscribe, then we can have more lessons on how to make use of e-learning systems. Thank you, guys.